Hey, you guys, welcome back to another edition of the I Am Worthy podcast. You guys know me. I am your host, Brittany Noel, therapist out of Houston, Texas. I'm also a speaker, a coach, entrepreneur, a author. At this point, I'm a whole bunch of a lot of things. But here on the podcast, I am nothing more than your friend in your journey as we are all learning how to grow into the higher version of ourselves. Here on the I Am Worthy podcast, you guys know that we are here to have some very hard conversations with ourselves. I always say the goal is to ask, hard questions with honest answers. And so here on the I Am Worthy podcast, that's what we do. We have some very tough conversations with ourselves so that we can evolve into the higher version that we see in our heads, that we envision ourselves becoming, so that we have access to the type of lives that we want to live. So welcome back to another edition, you guys. First of all, today's episode is important because we are starting a series, okay? The series is called The Journey to Transparency, okay? The Journey to Transparency. If you are following me on social media or if you are on my email list, then you guys know that you received an email from me. I made a very big announcement about my upcoming event that's happening on March 11th called Radical Transparency, okay? I want you to see the dots connecting here. There is a mission and a purpose that I have been assigned to live out on March 11th, and I'm excited about it. So this podcast series, for the next couple of episodes, I'm going to be interviewing some amazing people to talk about what the journey to transparency looks like for them in their lives, because what I am learning is that transparency, of course, was something that I had to learn later in life, how to become more transparent. But I have learned that as I grow and as I evolve and as I, gain access into higher versions of myself, because I am a teacher, because I am a demonstrator, it is my obligation, responsibility to bring back the things that I have learned to my community and to my tribe. And that's what March 11th is going to be about. So I'm excited about it, y'all. It is heavy. Let me brace you guys. The level of epiphanies that I have had the last couple of months have been ridiculously deep, like just learning about myself, learning how this process works. It's been rewarding, but it's also been a roller coaster ride of emotions where there's been ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. So today's episode, as we start off the journey to transparency, we cannot start interviewing all of these other people talking about their journey until we talk about mine first. So today's episode, we're going to talk about the journey to transparency from my perspective and what I think you guys should be prioritizing as you are learning how to step into this higher version of yourself. So strap in, okay? Put your seatbelt on, get ready to clutch your pearls, because we're about to get real. So when it comes to my life for the last year and a half, it has been a crazy roller coaster ride as I have been building out The Exception. For those of you new to my tribe, The Exception is my venue center, podcast center, photography at this point. We do a whole bunch of a lot of stuff, right? So I built out The Exception. It's 13,000 square feet. And Jesus, I wish I could have anticipated, okay? I wish I could have anticipated what all was going to happen as a consequence of me saying yes to this vision. And believe me, as I have been frustrated throughout this vision and I talk about this to God, and I'm like, God, why didn't you tell me that this was all going to come with my yes? And very, very clearly, God was like, if I would have told you what the real price was, you would have never opted in. And that is a word all in itself, that sometimes we set out to do things and we think we know how much it's going to cost us. We think we know how much money we're going to have to put into it, how much time we're going to have to put into it, how much energy. You think you know the cost. But I am here to tell you that whatever you want to build, whatever great thing, if it's a great marriage, if it's a great friendship, if it's a great business, that whatever you think you're going to have to invest, I guarantee you, you are way below number. I guarantee you, you are nowhere near what it is you think that you're going to have to put in. God told me, stop trying to add up the cost and focus on the benefit. Stop trying to add up the cost and focus on the benefit. Because after a while, I was like, hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I have no more time. I have no more social life. My friends haven't seen me in months. Everything that I have is going into this project. And I'm like, hey, look at here, right? God said, stop, as my mother would say, stop trying to count my pockets. Stop trying to add up this cost, because I guarantee you, no matter how much you add, first of all, the number is only going to discourage you. So if you're in a place where you feel like I've invested a lot, I've done a lot, I've done this, and I've done this, and I've done this, and I may not even be getting a return on that investment, stop counting the cost of what you've invested and count the benefits, okay? The last year, I have been going through my own transitions in my life where I have had to grow up into a larger version of myself. I've had to become a better leader. I've had to become a better communicator. I've had to become better at business. I've had to make a lot of hard decisions, all within a short amount of time. Little to no support, little to no direction. The only thing I could lean on was trusting my vision. Trusting that the thing that I saw in my head, if I stay on track, if I stay the course, that I'm going to get to an end destination. So in this journey, you guys, I have learned that there are some things that you're going to have to confront. If anything, there are three things like mile markers, right? The journey is a road. So if this is a road that we're on, there are certain mile markers that you have to hit on this journey. And one of the things that you have to hit for everyone as you are learning to grow into the higher version of yourself and to reach a point where you can be completely transparent with yourself and the world, the first thing you're going to have to do is confront a past truth. Confront a past truth, okay? I didn't say a past lie. I didn't say a past situation. I said a past truth, okay? And the reason why I bring this up is because, even when you're healed, and you're moving throughout your life, when you start opening bigger doors of who you are, when you start walking into bigger rooms, you're going to find out that you got to confront some things that you didn't even know were an issue. You're going to have to confront some things that you were like, I didn't even know that was a problem, right? Or something that at the time I didn't even register was traumatic, or register was still something that I needed to process, right? This popped up for me very vividly. I am naturally somebody who runs towards the things I'm afraid of. So fear is never something that I sit in very long before I shift into, okay, what can I do about it? Where's my power? Where's my control? That's the healed version of me. If I'm afraid of something, I need to address it so that I can move on to the next thing, right? That's my natural response to fear. When it comes to fight or flight, I'm always going to fight. I have never had a flight bone in my body, okay? It has always been, gear up, let's go to war, let's do what we got to do. So as I am building out the exception, when I tell you the number of things that I was fighting every day, the janky contractor that we hired who just kept trying to, I can't talk about it without cursing. But the janky contractor that we had that was just, a nightmare, but looking back, I can actually see the blessing in who he was as well. But he was definitely doing some shady things, right? We had the homeless people who vandalized our building twice. We had the ungrateful customers who would walk into a newly renovated business and had the audacity to talk trash, right? We had just a lot of disappointments, a lot of setbacks, a lot of stress, a lot of frustration, all of the things that come with doing something new, doing something out of the ordinary. And I'm like, okay, I'm cool. Like I anticipated this, right? I anticipated it being hard. I anticipated it being difficult. I anticipated being confused. So nothing's happening that I'm not anticipating. And let me tell you something. I promise you, it's kind of like the devil just knows. He's like, okay, she's not a level 1 warrior, okay? This warrior has some stripes on her belt. This warrior, this is not her first go round. This is not the first time that she's had to face off with something difficult. This is not the first time that she's had to deal with tough situations. This is an A1 warrior. So I can't come at her with just anything. And I'm telling you guys, I want y'all to see yourself in my story where he's not going to come at you with just anything, because you've already proven that you're resilient. You're already proven that you're strong. You're already proven that you're tough. So there's certain things that he's not going to come at you with, but he's going to come at you with a truth from your past. One day I'm walking through the building and we're in the middle of renovations. The building looks a mess, like it's in the middle of demolition. The building looks a mess, and I'm just like, man, it's a long way. Okay, we got a long way between where we are today and being finished. I'm questioning, is it going to work? Are we going to get it done in time? How am I going to make sure these people stay on track? How am I going to make sure they stay out of my pocket? All of that, right? And I'm still feeling confident. And it was like something this truth hit me like a bag of bricks. And it was because nothing triggered this thought. This thought just came out of nowhere. As I'm sitting in the venue in the front, the thought was, it reminded me of a time. So I had a flashback. I went back to a time in my childhood where my mother had recently started her own entrepreneur venture. She was building out a store, right? So she had got a storefront, and she was getting inventory, and she was selling clothes, and she's building out this store. Now, there were, there are no entrepreneurs in my family, so she didn't have a blueprint. She didn't have resources. I'm sure Google was around back then, but people probably weren't using it the way they do now, right? So there were a lot of answers that she didn't have in undergoing this endeavor. While she's building this store, our home, we had no lights, we had no water, and I remember there was one night where I think it was because the lights were off that she gathered us up, brought us to the store, and we slept in the store that night. I don't know if it was cold. I don't know if it was just too hot. I don't know what it was, but I remember vividly sleeping on the floor of that store. And so in my today, in 2022, I'm building my own vision, and I'm doing what I do, and I'm cool. I'm not rattled. And out of nowhere, this memory hits me, and it's like it was, my body could physically feel what it felt like to be that little girl laying on the floor of that store. And that memory triggered a fear inside of me that I haven't felt in years. It was the first time in a very long time that I was reminded I'm not invincible. When you have been good at going with the ebbs and flows of life, when you've gotten good at being able to be resilient, and you're leading and you're excelling and you're thriving, goodness gracious, when you're in a thriving season and you are reminded of a period of scarcity, it's like sometimes when we get so used to winning, you can be tricked into thinking and believing that you're invincible. And I was like, in building the exception up until this point, the thought of failure never crossed my mind. Like, sure, it's possible, but I never really believed it would happen. Sure, it's possible, but I never really believed it would happen for me because I've been winning for so long. So when this memory hit me, when I tell you it provoked this fear inside of me, and it was really the fear of that little girl. It was really the fear. It was like the fear of that little girl rose up and was like, okay, Brittany, now are you sure you know what you're doing? Because the last person we trusted to do this, the last person we trusted to take care of us, the last person we trusted to make this okay, we were sleeping on the floor. So are you sure that you can do it? And that fear that was provoked by that little girl inside of me, when I tell y'all, it had me curled up in a ball, okay? Curled up in a ball of just so many mixed emotions between having faith and trusting God, but also, are you sure? And it happened to your mom, and you may end up just like, you look just like her. So now I'm having to deal with not just the stress of building something incredible, not just the fear that comes with, doing something different, but now I have this painful truth from my past that has come to sit down at the table with me and said, hey, I'm here, right? And so I have learned that in this journey to transparency, there's going to be a truth that you have to confront from your past. The truth, it happened. I'm not making it up. I don't, wish it was different. It happened. And up until this point, I hadn't even thought about that memory in years. It hasn't even been nowhere on my radar at all. I probably could have forgotten it. But anytime you are moving into the higher level of yourself, it's going to pull back layers. That is the definition of transparency. It's pulling back layers of yourself to reveal the higher you. But in order to reveal who you are, who you're evolving into, I have to pull back every layer, everything that is hiding or disconfiguring the image of who you are. And so for me, in pulling back my own layers, what I had to confront was, Brittany, you're not invincible. Not only are you not invincible, but it's the constant reminder of, you're the first to do this. Are you sure? So now, instead of just being able to move on in my process and build and do everything from the standpoint that I was, now I have to confront my past while also building my future. This meant that the level of reassurance that I had to keep feeding myself every day, moment by moment, hour by hour, minute by minute, I had to keep reassuring that little girl inside of me. I had to keep letting her know this, I know you went through this, but this is not that. I know you experienced this, but this is not that, right? It's the constant reassurance that we're going to be okay. That while I know you may have been dropped before, I'm not going to be the one to drop you. And feeding myself that reassurance helped. I definitely won't say that it completely took away the fear, or it took away how I was feeling and all the emotions that were triggered because of it. But it made it mentally possible for me to show up in the way that I needed to show up, to be who I needed to be. That is what this journey is learning how to walk into who I am becoming, while also putting to rest the truths of my past, right? Whether they're painful or not. Once I was able to get to that, to get back in the mindset of, okay, we have to build. We're in the middle of a process. We can't just tap out, right? Because the emotions are overwhelming, or because it feels like I'm being hit from all sides, okay? It's one thing to deal with external hits. It's another to deal with internal hits all at the same time. So not only am I having to address the contractor, the burglaries, the employees, every person that I had to deal with, it was a lot. Versus not only them, but now I got to deal with me too. Now I got to deal with baby Brittany too. So it was this whole whirlwind of things that I couldn't control, things that I wish were different and were not, things that I wanted to put on a certain time frame and I could not. It is what it is, right? The next thing that you have to do in your journey to transparency is adjust under the pressure. The pressure's not going anywhere. When you want to level up into this next season of your life, when you want to grow into this next version of who you are, the pressure is not going anywhere. So my only option is to either tap out or adjust under the pressure. tap out or adjust under the pressure. And hear me clearly when I tell you that this pressure is not, it's not something that I want to just kind of minimize or trivialize. So I want you to hear me when I say that I understand the pressures that come with striving to be something great, striving to be something new. When I heard the news of Twitch, who had taken his life, and, it's all over my timeline and people are calling and texting and I'm looking at it. For a minute, it didn't really process it. It took me a minute to actually process what happened. I want to say maybe 2 days later, I woke up in the middle of the night having my epiphanies. I woke up in the middle of the night having experienced my own pressures, at this point, I'm deep into it, okay? I realized that while he committed physical suicide because the pressure was too great, that whatever he was experiencing, whatever he was going through, he had reached a point where tapping out was the higher option for him. Tapping out was the better option for him, that he made a decision to take his life because whatever pressures he was enduring, he reached a point where he said it's too much. I woke up in the middle of the night and I truly believe I love my relationship with God because he understands. Prior to his death, I kept saying something to my friends, and my friends have learned to listen to me. They have learned to hear me when I say certain things. And I kept saying this in a very joking manner. There were certain people around me who knew I was not joking. And I kept saying, I just want to get on a flight and I just want to leave. Like, it's too much. I'm stressed out. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know when this is going to end. I just want to leave. I just want to go. And I just kept saying that over and over. And, we would play it out, the scenarios. And they're like, well, Brittany, where we go? I was like, I don't care. I will sell everything. I will pack a backpack and I will just backpack around the world. I will be a nomad, okay? I don't need a cell phone, a laptop. I don't need an address, okay? And I kept saying this, joking and laughing about it. And one of my good friends, she was like, Brittany, I don't think you're okay. She said, I don't think you're okay. And we had to have a very hard conversation about the fact that I felt like I was too exhausted to be of benefit to anybody, right? Too tired to be effective for my tribe. Creating content was like pulling teeth. It was so difficult for me to show up as me because of the pressure I was under. And I kept making these jokes about wanting to leave my life, about wanting to just go somewhere, wanting to be something different. And what my friend who loves me very much, and I love her very much, picked up on was the fact that I was really saying, I'm ready to tap out. I'm ready to walk away from the vision. I'm ready to walk away from the purpose. I'm ready to walk away from it all because it's too much. And it was in the middle of the night that when I woke up, God said, what he did in physical form, you're contemplating doing spiritually. That he committed physical suicide and you're contemplating purpose suicide. I say that, the reason why I say I love my relationship with God so much is that he didn't get angry with me. He's not angry with me for being tired or being stretched. That he understands how you can get to a point to where you say, you know what, this is too much. And you want to walk away, right? And the only thing, I'm telling you, the only thing that keeps me is knowing that there are so many people assigned to my voice. There's so many people assigned to who I am. There's so many people who I know that there's a point in their journey that they're going to hear something that I have said, and it sparks a light bulb, it plants a seed. And so I know that walking away from my purpose or saying I'm not going to, show up the way that I need to show up, or of saying that I'm not going to be who I'm called to be, that it's not just me that is affected by that decision. There is a very real thing called purpose suicide, where we reach a point to where the pressure gets too great and you say, I would rather be ordinary. I would rather be basic. I would rather blend in. I would rather not be the thing, because being who I am is hard. Being who I am is difficult. Accepting all of my colors makes me a target. Accepting that I'm gifted makes me stand out. And so the pressure of stepping into your calling, stepping into who you're designed to be, the pressure becomes a burden, so much so that you decide, I would rather just lay it down. Y'all, since since I have decided to step into this version of Brittany that's being born in this season, I have been in a boxing ring with whether I don't even believe it's the devil. I think the devil has been permitted to do certain things, but as T.D. Jakes says, God uses the devil as your sparring partner. I don't believe the devil just has that much power in my life where he can come in and wreak havoc. I do think that God is allowing certain things to happen because it's growing me up. It's increasing my tolerance. It's increasing my ability to respond from an empowered place. This is what you get when you say yes to purpose. This is what you get when you say yes to the higher you. It's cool. Now that you've given me your yes, now I can develop you. It's not yes and then you go to glory. It's not yes and then you get the business. It's not yes and then you get the thing you want. It's yes and now I can develop you. And it's in the developing that we feel the pressure. We feel the weight of becoming. Becoming has a weight attached to it because I'm constantly being stretched past my capacity. And I'm telling y'all, the stretching, sometimes you're questioning, dang, like, is this where the stretching, is this where I break? Is this where it stops? Is this where the elasticity is going to snap? And I'm here to tell you that every time you get stretched to a point where you think you're going to break, you're not. I know it feels like you are. I know it feels like I can't take much more. I know it feels like I can't endure much more. But it's when you get to that breaking point that the grace and the mercy of God shows up and he does what you can't do and he is what you are not. I have done so much more things than I would have ever anticipated I was capable of doing in the last year. The way that I've been able to show up, most people who aren't in my immediate circle, for the most part, they know I'm stressed out. They know I've got a lot on my plate, but they have no idea what the battle was when the camera was off, what the battle was when I didn't have a microphone in my place. And that battle was every day. It was consistent. It was every day and it was consistent. And I would tell people, I was like, I'm waiting. Some days it's like I could breathe. I'm cool. And then there's other days where I'm like, I'm suffocating. I'm suffocating and I'm waiting on God. And God was like, no, this is where I show you that the thing that you think is going to drown you, you're going to overcome it. There are certain things that I am now, certain things that I have had to embody now that I didn't have when I started this process. It has made me a better speaker. It has made me a better businesswoman. It has made me more clear about what I want in my life. It has made me more clear about the ways in which I was compromising too much of myself for the benefit of others. It has made me clear about how I'm going to show up in this world. It blows my mind, y'all. Where I am now, I'm at the other side, okay? I'm on the other side where quitting is not an option. I'm on the other side where um, I don't feel as if I have to run away from anything. Um, I realize that this is my process. I have been blessed to have people in my life, and I'm telling you, it's like God knows. Like He knew. He was like, I know exactly where she's going to be at this time in her life. And it's like He strategically put people in my life for this moment. Like that's how you know when I'm going through my storm that God is still in it. Because you're going through the storm, and while everything is putting weight on you and everything is stretching you and everything is expanding you, and you feel the pressure of the expansion, you can still look out and see that there are certain things that are going right. There are certain things that are working. There are certain things that are blowing my mind. In the past year, I have gained more clients, more followers, more influence than I have ever gained with before, right? And I was like, and this is how it worked, because I was like, God, why now? Like, why couldn't you have given me the influence when I felt better? Why couldn't you have given me the influence when I felt like I had something to give? Why couldn't you have given me the influence when I was fully equipped, when I wasn't exhausted, when I wasn't stretched? Why couldn't you have given it to me when I felt prepared for it? He said, I'm going to give it to you when you don't feel prepared so that I can show you who you are. Because had I given it to you when you felt prepared, you would have felt like this was happening because you were prepared. I want to give it to you when you feel like you have nothing to give. So one, you know I gave it to you. So one, you know I did it for you. And two, you know how effective you are even on your worst days. You know how effective you are even when you don't feel like you're at 100%, even when you feel like you're past capacity. I want to show you that there is so much more. You've been leaving so much at the bottom of your barrel. You guys know when you run out of toothpaste and you know, I'm notorious for I'm going to squeeze it as much as I can squeeze it and then I'm just going to throw it away, right? There are certain people who will cut the top off of that toothpaste and they're going to dig into there and they're going to get every drop out of that tube because they want every piece of toothpaste that's left. And when it comes to our potential, when it comes to who we are, many times we're not scraping the bottom of that barrel to get everything that I am. We're satisfied with what's on the top. We're satisfied with what's easy to get to. But are you truly scraping every piece of you to say, I'm going to give it all that I have? I'm going to stop living my life on 30%, 40%, 50%. And I can't lie to you guys. I live my life at 80 and above. So it's not like I'm giving little bitty pieces of me. I've mastered giving the most that I can in every situation. And he came back and said, and there's still more. And he came back and said, there's still more. So I get it. I get it when you say I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I'm being stretched. But I want to empower you that as you are being stretched and when even in the times that you feel like you're not enough for the thing you've been called to do or the thing you're trying to produce, whether it's being a mom, being a wife, trying to be a better sister or a better brother, trying to show up at your job, whatever it is that you feel I'm lacking in, I guarantee you, you are equipped and you are enough, but we have to be willing to adjust underneath the pressure that's making us give in. I said on my live a few weeks ago that closing out 2022, there was something powerful about it, where there was a lot of epiphanies that I had right at the end of the year that I knew I had to do something different about how I showed up, how I interacted with certain people. There were certain things and perspectives that I had to change. And one of the things that I had to change about myself, and this is the last thing because I feel like I went off on a rant and I don't know where I went. But the last part of this journey to transparency is truly embodying the new you, accepting the new version of you. It's walking into that new version of you. And one of the things that I'm clear about is that in the hardest parts of my journey, I've been given so much territory. In the hardest parts of my journey, I've been given influence. In the hardest parts of my journey, I've been given the ability, I've been given the opportunity to make a massive impact. And what I became very clear about was that nobody can take this territory from you but yourself. You can give it up, you can walk away from it, but no one's going to come take it from you. So we cannot give up our territory because we are reluctant and resistant to move into who we are. So mastering your journey to transparency, it means that at some point I'm going to have to accept the new identity, seeing myself correctly, seeing myself as a plethora of different things, a myriad of different things. I'm not just this one thing. I'm not just this, but I am so much more. And when I am clear about who I am, oh, trouble, okay? Trouble. Because I show up in every room confident. I show up in every room unafraid. I'm back in my place where fear isn't, punking me, as I should say. I'm telling you, I got to a point where I felt like fear was just this bully that was taking my lunch money every day. I was like, you're not going to keep punking me. And that's literally the approach you get fed up of being afraid. You get fed up of living in fear of what if this and what if that. So I want to empower you guys that your fears are doing just that. It's playing a game with you. It's punking you. It's seeing how bad do you want it. Are you willing to confront the truth of your past, whatever truth that may be? Yes, it happened. And yes, I was on the floor. And yes, it was, I can't even say it was traumatic because at the time I didn't even feel like it was traumatic. All it was evidence of what could possibly happen based on my history. That's the thing. It's based on your history. It's evidence of what could possibly happen based on your history. And this is why it hits different. Because we've heard stories of, Steve Harvey sleeping in his car, everybody else who was home. You hear the stories everywhere. But you never really think, listen, it ain't going to happen to me. But it's that shred of evidence that shows up that says, you sure? You sure? Because it could happen. And now I have to confront that painful truth of my past from a new perspective, a healed perspective, giving myself reassurance to move forward. Y'all, I have a message for March 11th. And when I tell you it is powerful, it's powerful. I'm excited. Listen, when I finally got the message, because I have been praying to God for a while about what he wanted me to speak about in this season, what impact I could make in this season. And so when I finally got it, I was like, oh. One, it meant more transparency because while I am very transparent, I understand I have to be able to tell my story from a healed perspective and not a painful perspective. So as I'm coming on the other side, I know why now he's like, okay, now you can talk about it. I haven't been able to talk about this for months because I was in the head of it. I was in the midst of it. Now that I'm coming out of it, I'm ready to teach. I'm ready to empower. I'm ready to help you guys understand your own journeys better. So if you haven't already, head over to BrittanyNoel.com. And I think the first link on the page is for the conference. So I want to see you at Radical Transparency because it is my duty. It is my duty to help you understand the different parts of yourself, to peel back your own layers so that we can get the you that's hiding behind the fear, that's hiding behind the shame, that's hiding behind the guilt, that's hiding behind identities that no longer serve you. That is my assignment. And I'm excited about it. Oh, I get emotional every time I think about it. I'm excited about it. So I want to see you March 11th here in Houston, Texas. You guys, this has been another amazing episode of the I Am Worthy podcast. Thank you so much for trusting me in your journey, for walking with me in my journey, and partnering. This is a tribe. This is a community. If you're new to the community, welcome. But we support each other here. We lift each other up here. There is nothing to be ashamed of in this environment. So welcome. I am excited about our upcoming episodes with our guests. It's going to be phenomenal. So put on your seatbelts, okay? So I am so excited, and I will see you guys on our next episode of the Journey to Transparency series. Talk to you soon.